Greetings, dears. All right, how has time been for you the last few days? Time. As in, has it seemed that you do not have enough? All right, I'll call Stuart first. You do not have enough time, or you have more than enough time? Think about it for a moment. What has time been doing for you, Stuart?
Yesterday it was like time was like 4 days long in one day. It was so glorious because it was a beautiful day. Things were flowing well, and I got so much done, and I just was relaxed about it. It just was amazing. Today is kind of gone the same way.
Must be a humidity effect.
It seemed very fluid. There were times when it expanded, and then there were times when it contracted. And pretty much it was on my schedule, which is very nice.
Which is nice. Aye, that's the way you'd want it to go. Aye.
Friday, we took the day to just really enjoy being outside. And the day started off early on. A hawk appeared on the fence just 4 feet from our sunroom window and just stayed.
But Quinn is feeling all right, yes?
And Quinn was barking at it, but it just ignored Quinn. And then we watched it. It stayed there for about 10 minutes or so. And then we went to a park and went for a long walk. And a butterfly alighted on Mary Claire's hand and walked along with licking her finger for about
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
And the hawk was there for about 20 minutes too. It seemed like almost like an eternity. These wild creatures were just there. It was amazing in time. It slowed down that day a lot.
Nice.
And I think it was partly because we made the choice to just, take the time to be out in nature.
Very good.
And later that day, we went to another park and enjoyed walking around.
Parky kind of people. You had a nice Friday, yes?
Yes, very nice.
Keep
the
it up.
best ever.
Keep it up.
Thank you.
For me, it feels like it's moving very quickly. Time seems to be, I look up at the clock and all of a sudden it's 2 hours later than I thought it might be.
Interesting, eh?
I feel untethered.
Untethered.
It feels like it doesn't matter. So I'm just doing what I'm doing, and it's many minutes later or just 5 seconds later. Maybe because I'm not teaching this weekend, but it feels like she said very fluid, and it doesn't seem to matter.
Let me ask you this. Do you have enough time, or over the last few days, have you had enough time to do what you want to do? Never, hey? I think most of you would say, absolutely, you have. For some of you, it was a very magical sort of thing, that there was more time than you realized. But a lot of that has to do with the energy that has been coming through over the last few days and is going to continue until it reaches a pinnacle at the equinox. This is a very big energy transmission. I cannot tell you enough of how big this is. I'll only describe it as summer solstice of 15. That big. That big. And this particular energy transmission has a very particular purpose. Its purpose is to initiate the third wave of ascension. Now, the third wave of ascension, why in the world was there a first and second wave? And what kind of ascension are we talking about? Now, first let me say, this really isn't tonight's subject. This is just tickling you a little bit with a light, touchy, pokey feel here. Why the third wave? Somebody? I'll give you a hint. If you were at the retreat and you're not answering this question, I was an abject failure. Stuart.
Well, beginning with the summer solstice at 2015, we started this process, and the first wave was the physical, and the second wave was the mental, and now we're starting into the third wave, which is the spirituals.
And how does that show up insofar as ascension, and what kind of ascension are we talking about? Aye.
It's the ascension of the planet and life force on it, and we're shifting out of third and fourth density into fifth.
And what does that mean? Anybody awake over on this side of the room? What does that mean? We're moving out of third and fourth density, and we're moving into the fifth. Lakshmi?
It means that space and time exist only for those who need it.
She's really good about relating it back to why I asked you about time, isn't she? Yes.
Also, overcoming the third and fourth densities, a lot of that has to do with releasing ego.
Good, good. In fact, it all has to do with releasing ego.
And it's about unconditional love.
Yes, yes. How much love do you have in your life? Do you know how to love? Do you feel loved, and do you feel that you can give love? And if you did a random sample in amongst your friends, would they know you loved them? This world likes to think about love as a sexual partnering. You make love, which I always thought was sort of funny, eh? But there are many different kinds of love. Yet it's all centered on the same sort of thing. Anybody want to try to put words on what all those different kinds of love have in common? The love of a parent to a child, which is different than the love of a child to a parent, but don't ever tell a parent that because it will make them sad. The love that you have for a friend, the love that you have for a lover, the love that you have for somebody you want to spend the rest of your life with. What is common there, Bunny?
I'm thinking unconditional is the,
Unconditional would be the great answer, because if you had unconditional love for the grocery clerk you just met, we'd rank you right up there with Mother Teresa.
but it's a different than just loving the way they look or what they say. It's a love
Well
that's-
said.
It's
It's definitely something that functions more deeply than simply love that you have for all of nature.
Well, it's a connection and it's an exchange. It's an energetic merge in that you connect in with that person, you see that person, you hear that person, you understand that they are a part of you, maybe not consciously all the time, but there's a knowing somewhere that you have a similarity. And so you both give and you receive. And it's with respect, it's with recognition of them as a spirit. That's not always conscious, but it's underlying.
Lilibeth is saying that it has to do with recognizing respect, seeing what is the same with one another. She mentioned recognizing on a spiritual level, energy, connections, all of that is also in there.
Maybe not much different, but the essence of what we are recognizes and acknowledges the essence of the other, the true essence.
And I'm going to say that the two of you are describing the word that I'm going to use as the common denominator, and that is acceptance. Acceptance. Accepting all of those things which have been mentioned. And a full, complete acceptance creates that unconditional love. You accept that your child is not doing the most wonderful thing right now, but you still love them unconditionally. Acceptance. Acceptance. Now I want you to step back for a moment and think about how you accept yourself. And if you think about those things in your life that you have challenges with, I would pretty well tell you that that's because there is an area in yourself that you do not accept. You do not accept, and then you can kind of fill in the blank there, but it's that you're not worthy of your love. Now, I'm not talking accepting another person, which of course is vital. I'm talking about loving yourself, which is more than vital. It is in your very bones. And when you have aspects of yourself that you do not love, you don't have control of the power that you have come here to use and be. And that means time is running helter-skelter for you right now. Because this energy dump has everything to do with love. You're feeling the love. Or you're not feeling it because it's an opportunity for you to see where there is not acceptance of yourself, of others, of situations. Well, Samuel, I should not need to accept this terrible situation. I should not accept war and famine and disease and all of these bad things in the world.
Well, I think there's a difference between acceptance
Yes.
and approval. But on the acceptance,
Say that again.
there's a difference between acceptance and approval.
Thank you. Good.
And from the personal acceptance point of view, I've noticed a big shift for me, and I'll try to describe it briefly, which is that there's no face palming, there's no, that was stupid, there's no, if only I had done this, the regrets, because it's just like, this is where I am. I'm here right now, and if something happens or is happening immediately, I'm not thinking, damn it, why did that happen? I'm thinking, well, let's make the best of this.
Good.
Because particularly if we're beyond any decision point, I've already made a decision and something's done. It's like, that's the best I can do. It doesn't do any good for me, it's not loving to me, and it sucks up all my time if I'm living and dwelling in the past and saying, if only, or if only not.
Well said, well said. Accepting doesn't mean approving. I like that. It's a great bumper sticker. Accepting means it's not going to run you. It's not eating up all of your time as you think and think and overthink it and overthink it. It's not going to make you feel badly about yourself or others. Acceptance simply means it's allowed, recognized as a part of your world, but it does not mean that it has a grip on you and that you've bought into it. It's why resistance is futile. It's why resistance is futile. What you cannot accept in your life are those areas where you do not feel you have received and therefore are incapable of giving love. Think about that for a moment. Because again, ultimately, it's all about the love. This energy is going to carry through until early to mid-November. But its height is the equinox. During these next couple of months, 3 months, September, October, part of November, these couple and a half months, you're going to be looking at love quite a bit. The love that you have for others, the love others have for you. How you feel about your sense of love in this world. You're going to have the opportunity to become very aware of when you are not loving. You don't like that. So why don't you just be loving all the time so you'll never have to see that? You're going to have the opportunity to see if you need more love in your life. Quick hint. You need more love in your life. Everybody needs more love in their life. But you're going to have to put a balance on that. You want more love in your life does not mean that it's because you're lacking something. You are a function of Source in this world. You are love. And all you're needing to do over these next 2.5 months is allow yourself to agree and know I am love. Pay attention to all of the different kinds of relationships you have in your life right now. Because love is going to show itself, or you're going to see where you need to love yourself more. I'm going to make a wild and outrageous statement. The rough things, the bad things, the difficult things, the challenges, because of course nothing bad ever happens, the challenges that you come across in your life are all related to how much you love you. And when you come to a place in your journey in which you actually get that, you've made some masterful, masterful leaps. Ultimately, this grand scheme is all about you. That's why within every human soul there is this interesting sort of sense that says, yeah, it is about me. Your unique perspective allows that everything you experience in this world is about you, or, hello, you're not experiencing it. Well, that was a little funny. It's never good when you have to tell your audience to laugh. It's really going to be a great time when you are fully aware of the love you are. Otherwise, you're going to have the wonderful opportunity of seeing where more love is needed. And now you already know the medicine. Put love to it. Put love to it. Put love to it. Because that will be what smooths that journey. Put love to it. Big time of energy. Having said that, I am going to bring it back to time. Do not be surprised if you do not find at least long enough for you to get used to it and readapt, which always happens. But in the very first days of a strong energy outpouring, do not be surprised that what you put your mind to happens with regard to time. You want more time, you get it. You act like you never have enough time, you'll get that too. Time is very fluid. That was in case I was making it look too much like a straight line there. All right, September. And you are in the midst of Labor Day weekend. So I'm going to go back to the love I just spoke about. And I'm going to ask you, what are the labors of love in your life? What do you do for love? You've probably heard, maybe in songs or some kind of soap opera movie, the things that you will do for love. What are the things people do for love? Not you, of course, but just the things people do for love. In Hollywoodland, they kill for love. What else?
In the Broadway show, our chorus line, there's a whole song about the things I did for love, and it all has to do with their talent, what they gave up to express themselves and their talent. And
The many things you gave up for love. That's good. Was not. Well, I might have to call on you anyway. Hi, dear.
You're desperate, right? I'm in a really different time of my life. And I've always loved working, and it's slowed down too because I broke my wrist. And it's a struggle.
Sculptors have a difficult time sculpting when they do not have.
It's a struggle, really. But still, I have that feeling of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. It's just taking me a lot longer. In the mix is my dog, who's having a terrible time. But he's amazingly able to just deal. The vet called him stoic, but I don't, he just deals. He makes my life more complicated, but still, the things that you do for him and he's there makes you feel love. How he looks or how, just, and sometimes I admit that something will happen that really makes me angry. But I let him know that that's not really anything, And he has a sense of that. I know he does. I have people close to me that have been really a challenge to not want to murder sometimes.
What you're doing for love is not murdering.
Well, interestingly enough, they're working very hard, but they want to not be quite like they have been as long as I've known them. But they're always late. I mean, it's after the deed is done that they're saying, oh, I shouldn't have done that, But it's at least recognizing that they did do the deed. So maybe it'll all catch up with itself,
It's amazing how some people can resist karma, eh?
Well, I won't get my hope up. That's their way through the world.
That is, by the way, a mother's love speaking.
I recognized it.
Well, you deal with that. It's kind of, I don't know, it's just there, and you deal with it and try not to get in trouble or get hurt over the whole thing or
True.
any of that. You just,
The love is bigger than the event.
excuse me?
The love
Yes.
is bigger than the event,
Yes,
than the
yes.
thing.
Yes. And I look for the things that are very good
Good.
in what's happening with any of those people that are so close and available. I can see the good things, and I feel gratitude for that. And there again, it balances over that and makes it easier. It hasn't been easy.
three kinds of things, three sorts of love Gwendolyn just spoke about. The first one was love of self. Going through massive life change right now, in more than one way, but massive life change. And she was not making the point of this, but I'm making it out of what she said. And she has to stop and remind herself to be right here in that now, which led to the second thing, because she was saying that her dog, who is, as all your animals tend to be, quite old, with some very serious health issues going on, is reminding her on a regular basis that the things you will give to those you love, even when it's not convenient and when it's not what was on your to-do list today, and even when it's a dog. You give because of the love, and you see that love coming back, which makes you want to give more. And she said that her dog reminds her to stay in that now, in this moment, because the pain and the debilitation and the difficulty are not in this moment when the love is. So there was that second kind, that kind you have with a beloved creature that requires a tremendous amount of work. You realize that that is what you're doing for love. And then there is the third kind, the very unconditional kind that comes when you have to realize that this experience is not the sum of this person and our relationship. This one thing isn't all there is about what love is about. So love is loving oneself, it's loving others, it's also a certain kind of blindness. Taking that on because the larger picture counts more. And those are all versions of what people do for love. As an individual who is choosing to grow and change into a more loving being, as an individual who has come here to be a loving example in the world, who has come here to help this world, as that person, what do you do in the name of love? And I'm going to say that as that person, anything you do in the name of love is service. So how do you serve? Hi.
So recently, I've been having some emails within our siblings, and something happened that was unacceptable way of communicating. But this person is also seriously ill, who uses that as an excuse.
Say that again.
So this person is seriously ill and uses that as an excuse for this bad communication. And so
I feel so bad. I'm not going to take the time to be loving and kind. I'm just going to put out what I said and regret it later.
Doesn't even regret it later. This is how I am, so you take it or leave it. Those were the exact words. So, when that happened, one of my initial responses was much compassion for this person, but also the need to then have boundaries around communication. And at the same time, it also brought out a lot of pain in me from previous such situations. So I realized a loving thing for me to do is to say, I hear you, and it brought up a lot of my issues, and I'm working on it. When I'm in a place to be able to communicate clearly, I will write back.
Good.
And I have been looking at my own past and healing myself and grieving the person who was, and letting go of so many things, so I can be in a place where I'm not attached to anything or don't have a hidden agenda. So
Lovely.
from what you're saying, that I think that's serving my guardianship and as a sibling.
It's serving your family, which, of course, serves your life and serves this world. Nice example. Aye.
In the church where I go, the Orthodox Church, we are welcoming the Syrian community from the war.
Nice.
And I really like them. They're nice people. I like the language, and I'm there for them to talk to me. I'm a good listener. I won't say a word. I'm just there to listen to their story. And at the end, I ask them if they give me the permission to give them a counsel.
Ah. So, one of the ways then that you give love into the world, one of the ways you work for love, one of the ways you serve, is with an immigrant community that needs a place to tell their story. You will listen, and when they need advice, you are there to help and give. That's an excellent example of what service in this world is about.
I think another way of being loving is to be authentic and to truly be who you are, even though it might make other people uncomfortable.
Which happens sometimes, doesn't it? Aye? Very nice.
I think sometimes, in the interest of keeping love in the forefront, you have to talk about the elephants in the room. So if there is something that's going on that is difficult in a relationship, then to not push it aside and act as if it doesn't exist, but to, in a loving and compassionate way, speak about it and how it affects the relationship as a whole from your perspective and how you see it affecting them, so that there is an opportunity for growth and for that love to expand and for it to move beyond that place. And then another place where I think we serve is by teaching what we know to others who are looking for that in various ways, and by example, and then also with techniques and things that we've learned to use ourselves. And then another way is in the medical community, to be there for yourself, for friends, whoever, for your family, and then also to be there for those who are in the medical community who are giving so much, and to give them recognition and love and anything that we can acknowledge that they're doing.
In any number of communities, ways to give, yes.
You know, with my work, this is not particularly where I wanted to be in my life. This is not the kind of work that I wanted to do. And I've struggled with it for...
Sometimes it finds you.
So what I've come to realize is that one, the company I work for, of course, does great things for the community. So I'm behind them in that. Two, I've made an agreement with them to do something. So instead of bemoaning my time and saying, this is not what I want to do, I hate my life, you know, let's, whatever. I've decided to stop that and try and find the things that I do like about it and things that I do love about it. And yeah, so what, it isn't what I wanted to do, but it is what I'm doing, and I have an agreement. And if I'm going to get out of it, do that on my own time, not on their time. So there's a love for the involved in there for myself, a respect.
Absolutely.
To say that, yes, I've committed to do this, so I'm going to do this for them. I'm going to find a way to enjoy it. And also, I'm going to, because of that, enjoy working with the people I'm working with and be enthusiastic. Because it's very easy for a bunch of cynics to get together and talk about how, you know, well,
Too easy.
this is, you know, the world will end with this piece of code. Oh, well, you know. It's very easy to get into that. So we're not doing that, and that's good too.
But like Kathy's saying, that means being authentic and maybe even have people who really liked the one who would sit around and gripe and complain, because all of a sudden now you're not sitting around griping and complaining. That's brave. Good adulting there.
I always knew there was one in there somewhere.
Labor Day is about recognizing the workers. And out in the world, that usually means those who make things happen in your world, because they build your house, or they create your art, or they bring your mind back together, or whatever happens to be needed at the moment. But I want to remind you that you have a job serving yourself with love as part of your spiritual work in this world. Really. Now, I always try to be careful with that, because that can become a justification, an excuse to just dote on yourself way too much. And so I'm always pretty careful about reminding you that you need to take care of yourself. But I'll do it once a year on Labor Day, all right? Or at least close to Labor Day. Because it's very important that you realize everything you do with love is an act of service. So what are you doing to love you, to serve you? You've thought about, for a few moments, the things that you're doing out in the world. Now I want you to think about the things you're doing for yourself. What are you doing for you these days? And if you're not able to come up with something, that's a problem. Particularly amongst guardians, it's a problem. Because there is a piece of you that will constantly be reminding you, it's not about you, it is. You're supposed to be releasing ego, thinking about yourself as ego. It's not. There's always going to be a piece of you that resists taking care of you because of the piece of you that only wants to look at you. And yes, there is that piece of you. It is the reason you're still alive. at 5 or 25 or 50 or 105. It's the reason. So now I'm going to switch it up a little and I'm going to ask, are you taking care of you in the right ways? Because all of this energy is about love, so it causes me to need to say that the only way that's going to work for you is the most loving way. Most of you look at taking care of yourself as not doing something. I'm not eating this food. I'm not killing myself at work. But love is active. And it's about what you are doing. What are you doing? Yes. Not doing something you know isn't good for you is a positive action. But I'm saying a conscious, this is good for me thing. And when you think of something like that you're doing, let me ask you, do you feel good about it? Or do you feel guilty about it? Do you do it on a consistent basis? Or is it kind of helter-skelter when you can fit it in because you're not high on your own priority list? And then another tangent from that, or when you look at it, do you see that just maybe it's not consistency you're giving yourself, it's rigidity? Is that the word? Yeah. Rigidity. Not, all right. It's not love you're giving you. You're doing those things because you think you should. And the way to know is to think about what you do in your free time. What do you do when you don't have to do anything? Some of you cannot answer that question because you don't allow yourself to ever stop.
That's what I do for myself is I give myself about 2 hours in the morning before everybody in the house wakes up and the dog wants to be fed and Vernon needs to get up and Tony wants a shirt iron. I give myself a couple hours and enjoy my coffee.
And take it slow, because you know it's not going to be for long.
I'm not on call.
That's a good thing. How much do you do in your life for the pure pleasure of doing it? How often do you do something in your life for the pure pleasure of doing it? Do you know what brings you pure pleasure? I'm not answering that question. I got a very expectant vibe there. What is it, Samael? What brings me pure pleasure? Darn it. What brings you pleasure? Not spiritual joy, because of course it does that, right? Not, I can be happy about this. I mean, pleasure. And do you do it? Do you serve you in the same way that you know you want to be serving in the world? David again.
I took a course in budgeting a bit back, and what was interesting was they had an emphasis, yes, there are certain things that you need, and you want to budget for them. They said, but what most people forget to do is to budget for experiences. Set money aside to do things with others, or travel, or the things that you love. And they said, if you're not doing that, then why have a budget, because you don't have a life.
Good point. Good point, really. What does it matter if you're not getting something out of it that really feeds you? So this Labor Day, I want you to think about these things. I want you to think about your definitions of love and how you work in and with and without acceptance in your life. The relationships that you have work because of acceptance, or they don't work because of places where there is not acceptance. I'd like for you to look at serving this world. And I'd really like for you to look at serving yourself. With that definition of service being actions taken with love. You are an amazing force in this world, capable of so much more than you think. You are a being who has come here with a purpose, as you well know, and that purpose is to put your love into the world. That means the journey in becoming that loving being is sometimes going to be fraught with strange and wonderful things. It means that journey is sometimes going to be uphill and not all taking a sled straight down. Although for some, I think the uphill is more fun than the downhill, which is always a little scary when I work with those. I love the drama. Because right now you're going to be coming into a time in which you start looking at yourself. And one of the most important and worst things you can do in the next 2.5 months is to be judgmental toward yourself and others. Best and worst, I say. Judge yourself and others by the love you give to yourself and others. Not because, well, I don't love myself enough, so I'm just going to jump in a hole and die. But instead because it's showing you where more love can be given. you know you are here to make a difference. You know that. And you know in your very heart that you are here as an example of love. But your world defines love so poorly. Love is acceptance. In the day-to-day and in the greater picture, where of course that acceptance is oneness. We are one. And that oneness is an acceptance that allows for the moment by moment acceptance. Accepting another as they are, accepting the situation as it is. Love has you take it a further step. Accepting them as they are with love. Accepting the situation with love. Accepting yourself with love. It's not the only thing you do in this world, but it's one of the most important. It's not an excuse. It is definitely a challenge, sometimes more than others. But most important, it's the only thing that will really fulfill you. Giving love, receiving love, is the only thing that changes this world. It changes you. And this is a time of change. Loch na mara.